it also sells all of the guests that walk through the door and tell them why they need to join and become a member if it fits into what their, I guess, their long-term goal and personal plan is. So we're going to walk through the steps on how to execute open house. First reason or first point I like to always make is why. You know, obviously the easy part is yes, we want some new members, right? No question about that. And it's a most focused effort to grow your membership out of anything else you'll do. If you've ever seen the Finding New Members segment in the Successful Club series, it goes through a list of a lot of things you can do. And there's probably 200-300 different little things. But when Joel and I were running our club as president VPE, and I was the president before that, we really kind of learned and found out that making good meetings, but then when you get folks to there, you have to be able to sell them on why they need to be there. And when I generated this and I made a big effort of it in Beaumont, it gave them a focused effort and a point in time to actually focus to bring a lot of guests to that meeting. More energy, more excitement, more fun at the meeting. And it also gives you the opportunity to grow multiple members at one time. On average, out of the 5 open houses we did, we probably, I want to say it was like 42% actually joined at the meeting. And we had a few more that may have joined afterwards as well during the follow-up process. So you're always going to grow a little faster in that method. Also, the one thing a lot of us forget is the Toastmasters promise. Number 8 talks about sharing the benefits of Toastmasters by bringing new guests to the meeting. And I think it's part of our responsibility to the club, responsibility to give back to what Toastmasters is giving to us. And if you're on this call tonight, I think you understand that because you're obviously getting something out of it or you probably wouldn't be here in the first place. Again, I mentioned it creates more energy. The other thing I love is you're going to find potential leaders when you're working, I believe, in more of a group environment because people are going to come through the door for a bigger event that may not just show up as a one-off by themselves because somebody invited them, unless they're truly motivated and they really have a need that they think Toastmasters can fill for them. So you can find potential leaders to grow into the leadership slots. And then you help others develop and grow personally. As I mentioned in all of my talks I give about at the open houses, Toastmasters at its basic level is a personal development program, plain and simple. And the last part that I like is that it creates member opportunities. And what I mean here, I'm going to get into more details on the next couple of slides, we're going to give the members inside the club that are looking to move through the educational levels opportunities to fulfill these needs of the CL manual and the advanced communicator manuals and all these other different levels. So we're going to help them by also helping the club. So it's a win-win all the way around. A couple of key points is the open house is, again, you want to treat it as an event, not just like any other meeting. Obviously, you do your best to run a great meeting every time and very specific in what you're doing. But this one is a big event. You really want to promote it as a big event. In the flyer, you'll get access to. In that flyer, I just have it as an example of one we've used previously. But you want to tell them who the speaker is going to be. You want to give them a title of that speech, and it wants to be something to promote that speaker that people need to come out and see what's going on because they know they're going to learn something through the process. In my opinion, if you're struggling for membership and or, like you mentioned, you want to keep a good, healthy flow because people do come and go in Toastmasters. We know that's the truth. So there's no point in kind of fussing about it and complaining. Let's just try to fix it by having enough people come through the door that we can always help fill those slots. And I believe you should do one every quarter. If you're really struggling, if you've got a pretty good membership flow and a good number of members, 20 to 30, then sure, you can maybe scale that back a little bit if you need to. But I think at least 4 a year for the clubs that are trying to grow and get to that 20 plus number for sure. Keep it simple, but make it energetic and fun. And by simple, I'll get into a little bit more here in a minute. One solid speaker on communication and leadership, and always reach out to district leaders and other great speakers that you know of around the area. Joel, he's more than willing to go run his mouth anywhere he can. And we love for him to do that because he does such a great job. And just for those of you who may not know, Joel Dawson just stepped up as the club growth director. But right before that, he was actually moved from, obviously he was our District 68 International Speech Contest winner, but he actually made second in his semifinal round, which puts him in about the top 25 speakers in the world in Toastmasters. Pretty big distinction there. So we know he can run his chops pretty good. So we want to get him working as much as we can, you see. But there's a lot of people in your local areas as well. I know there's a lot of great speakers down in New Orleans, probably some in Baton Rouge. But again, don't hesitate to reach out to get folks to come in and help out. Isn't that right, Joel?
Yes, sir.
There you go. And in that open house meeting, there's going to be a section at the end of the agenda where you're going to ask for them to fill out the application, talk about the cost to join, and tell them, hey, now's the time to fill out your application. Let's get it taken care of for you. So you're going to ask for that sale. I find many times, just in general meetings, people will come in and they'll see what's going on. They might get a guest packet, but many times they leave the meeting with all the materials and even an application, but they never were asked to join the club. So one thing I know out of from my sales experience, if you don't ask, you're never going to get them to join. And then the last step, this is pretty much after the open house. For those folks who didn't actually join at the meeting, do some follow-up. Show them that you cared that they came and show them some Toastmasters love, as I call it. Now, best practices. Again, from a goal setting and a planning standpoint, now that we're still at the beginning of the year, this is the best time to set some dates. And if you're a club who needs to get to 20 members, then you need to set 3 more. If you can do one in the next month, that'd be perfect because it's right before the dues renewal cycle. So that'll help you get your 8 plus for your next renewal. But then set 3 more for the rest of the year, have them on your calendar, and be working toward them. Now, let's talk about what the members get out of this. This is where we're going to step into some of the leadership part of this. There's 3 different projects in this Competent Leader Manual that can be fulfilled with each of these events.
Excuse me 1 second, Richard.
Yes, sir.
You said something about PowerPoint. Are you showing that right now? Because nothing's on the screen.
I've got it sharing. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, it should be showing.
Okay, there it is.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
A little technical difficulty.
There we go. There we go.
My apologies. Okay. So best practices, again, you'll be able to fill 3 roles. And there's a copy of this PowerPoint you'll get at the end of it. I can email it out to you guys like I mentioned earlier. You'll have an event chair. You can have someone that helps with a club event. And then you're going to have a PR chair that's going to fill in for that last role and that last part. So there's 3 people at each and every event that can get credit in their CL manual. And those are probably the 3 most challenging projects to complete, simply because they're more project oriented versus everything else is covered by just serving in roles in the club. So that'll be 3 of them. And what I always suggest is you find somebody that's going to be the event chair. They'll pretty much take care of setting up your agenda, trying to get all the folks in the right positions, right places, and the organization of it. And again, they can recruit a person or 2 to help them with a club event that can help do some of those logistical things as well. And then you have one person that heads up the promotions. And they, of course, go out and look for people to help them as well. And again, and I say that in some of the clubs, it may have 6 or 8 folks, there. You're going to have some that may not be interested in messing with that right now. So it may put a little bit more work on the first few. But again, as you bring in new folks, hey, look, let me show you how this works. But you always have to tie it back into what does it help them do in the real world. One thing I think we miss a lot in Toastmasters is how do these leadership tasks and projects that we do inside the club, how does that help me at work? How does that help me at home, or how does it help me in my community? And you have to show them how that all ties back to that. Then you want to target market. Now, you guys at the campus, I think that kind of gives you kind of a pretty easy spot. You probably can throw up a bunch of flyers everywhere. But what I might suggest for you guys is maybe in one of these particular open houses, target some of the professors, say in the communication area, maybe the business department, or maybe even, I guess that would fall into communication. I was going to say speech or debate. I'm not sure how your college is structured for that stuff. Usually the communications professor is somebody who's pretty interested. And we found a lot of excitement in the business departments as well in these colleges. And then have them, get their students to show up, because a lot of these business department leaders are looking for the soft skills to teach these students to go out into the marketplace and use. Now, for Toastanola, since you're kind of a corporate club, but you're looking to get in the community as well, my thought was to mention maybe target market one of these meetings, some of the department heads in the particular company. If you've got 200 people, I'm sure there's quite a few department heads. And yeah, you may not get them all in one visit, but you want to continue to drip on them over time. Hey, we're doing an open house this next, in 3 weeks. I'd like for you to come and bring some of your team members and really kind of follow up with them, however the best method of contact would be. There's a ton of, you can use social media, you can use email, you can use face-to-face, tons of different ways to go through that. You want to create a timeline between 8, 6, 4 weeks, whatever you feel is good to where you can execute a good one. And keep in mind, this first one that you do, you may not have the turnout that you're looking for. In most cases, I'm sure we've all experienced how it's taking you a while. You've invited somebody 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. I always tell the story. I had a gentleman that I invited by email literally for a full year, every single week, skipping probably a few weeks. And he finally came and joined once he had gotten the time booked out on his schedule. So whatever your time is, but again, you want to divide and conquer. That event chair handles certain things, promotion chair handles the promotion part, and then they ask for help as needed from these other areas. Again, this is motivating, delegating, team building, things that can help them with those 6, 8, and 10 projects. Again, I can't reiterate enough. You want to make this a big event, not just another simple meeting. Not that our meetings are simple, but you definitely want to make sure it's a big deal. Pump up whoever that speaker is going to be and put out there the fact that this is going to be a fun event, some great education and some teaching and training is going to go on. Some more best practices. Prep for the agenda. Key people. Now, in the stuff I'm going to email you, I guess I probably could have done that ahead of time. There's going to be 2 pages. One is open house notes and one is the ideal open house agenda. And what I mean here by key people, if you've got some folks in your club that are really great at some of these particular roles, say Toastmaster, table topics, even evaluator, you probably want to have those best people in those places. But also have some people that can be set up to pay attention and maybe do this at another open house down the road when you have one next quarter. Because you really want to kind of put your best foot forward here. When the day comes, it's game day. As Joel says, put some enthusiasm into it and have some fun. Make sure it's high energy, get there early, and make sure you really try to spread the load. Again, you may only have 8 to 10 members, but have somebody that's specifically a greeter, where they say hello to everybody, finds out a little bit about them, and then walks over and hands them off to somebody else. And then they go back to that group in the beginning, making sure you're getting contact information, all that good stuff. Handouts here. The one thing I like about handouts, there is I think it's $1 for 10 of them through Toastmasters, or you can get copies. They may have a PDF out there of the 10 public speaking tips. And I like to give that out to all the guests, and you can print them, black and white or color, whatever's good for you. And I would actually even say we may even tap into the trio to see if we might can get some of that stuff from the district too. Don't hesitate to ask for those materials if they have. But there are a lot of other things you can get for free on Toastmasters.com as well. So that gives somebody some value. Even if they don't ever come back, they walked away with something of value that's going to remind them about Toastmaster from time to time. And then the closer. This one's particularly important, and sometimes it can be that speaker that you have come in, or it can be your president, your Toastmaster, whoever you feel is confident in walking through the application and then actually asking for the sale. How do we join? How much is it going to cost? And are you ready to get started tonight? There's an invite script and a follow-up script on the page of open house notes that I sent you. And I tailored the invite script in 2 ways. One, if it's somebody you're talking to that you pretty much already know, so you're just inviting them. And the other one is a basic email where you'll fill in a few blanks based on your meeting and your open house. And you could email that to somebody cold if you want. Maybe you got a list of folks you haven't talked to in a while. I always suggest past guests that have came by but never joined, and also past members. Reach out to, say, Joel or Mohammed, and they can probably get you a list somewhere of the past members over the past, couple of years that didn't renew their membership, but you can reach out to them as well. And again, some will, some won't, but every extra person you get in the door is an extra possibility to get to join your club. And then the follow-up script is basically, if they didn't join at the meeting, just to find out where they're at. Will they be back? Is it not a good time? Or you know what? I just didn't see any value. I'm not going to be coming back. No big deal. But it's just another touch to find out where they are in that process. A good idea, and I don't notice it as every club. Some clubs are really good about getting names, phone numbers, and addresses, and emails. Some don't get the address, but I think it's a good touch. Get some thank you cards at the dollar store and drop out a little thank you card and assign that to someone. Again, that's a delegation task to where they just, send a thank you card to everybody that came by. I think it's an extra touch that in many cases you might get an extra 2 to 3 members over the course of, every quarter or so just by doing that. Follow up, like I said, yes, no, or just not now. And you want to make it fun. Again, I can't reiterate that enough. But upbeat, every time you have a fun, upbeat meeting put together, you're always going to have a better result, both for the members and for the guests who showed up. Like I say, on average, we've had about 40 to 50% join at every club open house that I've done. And don't think you're out there by yourself. I know there in New Orleans you have many more clubs in a close population than we do out here in Lafayette and in this area, Division A. So don't hesitate to reach out to other folks. There's Chick Miller down there. There's a lot of great folks there in Baton Rouge I'm familiar with, and a lot in New Orleans that I'm probably just not as familiar with. You got Paul Reyes and some of those other senior Toastmasters with a lot of experience down there that if you asked them, they would probably be more than happy to come give a speech at your open house for you. And again, the guest never forgets the host who treated him kindly. And that's not Homer Simpson, Joel, not Homer Simpson. All right. Any questions thus far?
So this is Venkat from Toast of NOLA.
Okay.
In one of the slides, I saw divide and conquer. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Let me come here 1 second. Let me go back. Current slide. Oops. Yeah, I'll skip through here real fast. What I'm talking about there is kind of when you're coming back to, you have an event chair and you have a PR chair for every event ideally. And then you're going to be able to have one more person that'll get credit. I believe it's Project 6 for helping with a club event. So by divide and conquer, that's really what I'm talking about, is by giving everybody a chance, where'd it go, to participate. And you're going to have to reach out to folks because, as we probably know, some will volunteer, but some will need to be asked. And you need to find out and make sure and sell them on the idea. And what you want to be doing is know the members in your club. I need somebody that's going to get together. I'm going to give you all the email addresses of the people that have come to our club meetings before, but have never joined or haven't come back in a while. We want to reach out to those folks. So that's one person that you kind of give that task to sit down and email, 10, 15, 20 people with that email script that I have. And you can tweak it up to your liking, to what sounds good and feels good to you. But again, you want to divide and conquer that. Then have another member. Maybe they're the ones that tries to contact the people that had been members before but hadn't renewed their membership in, say, the past 6 months, year, maybe even as far as 2 years, as far back as you want to go. So splitting the responsibilities, because what I find so many times when we get somebody to jump on an event, they try to take it all on their own. And this thing can be cumbersome and a lot of work if only one person is trying to pull all the weight. And that's not the way this is designed. Again, Toastmasters is a team effort. It's a club. We're trying to build the whole club. This isn't just for any one person. So we want to make sure that we spread that load as evenly as we can. And that's what I mean by divide and conquer. Having people that are going to have some checkpoints. Let's say you plan yours 6 weeks from now. Of course, we're at the beginning of September. So let's say you do it 4 weeks. You try to have one the last week of the month because you want to try and get some extra members before the renewal cycle. Well, just have a couple of checkpoints during this month to say, okay, where are you at? How are you doing with it? And have some timelines built in there to where they're going to stay on track. But again, spread that load up a little bit. And then the PR chair can maybe more focus on, working on just inviting guests that you may not normally see, or, whether it be flyers or emails or whatever that be. And again, do not hesitate to tap into social media. If you've got your Facebook page, which most of our clubs do, make an event and invite doggone everybody you can. But in that live event post, make sure you make it impactful. Use some good phrasing in there, similar to what I put on the flyer, that is going to pump up the speaker, pump up their title of their speech, so it makes them, well, man, I'd like to hear more about that. The title of mine was 2 Life Skills I Never Learned in School. So, that kind of gives you a little bit of, well, what might that be? So you can kind of get some people to come out and see it. So again, you want to spread that load. Ideally, you might have 6 or more people working on this with different little aspects. Because if one person takes it on, it's going to be cumbersome. And we have a lot of people that are kind of like that. They like to do everything themselves, but you want to spread that load. That's part of delegation and leadership, and where you're trying to help others develop while you're developing yourself as well. Does that answer that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sure. Anything else out there? Y'all a quiet group tonight.
Yes, this is Jennifer from Big Easy. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more about the timeline. What's the minimum amount of time a club would need to do this well, and what's a more typical or average amount of time?
In my experience, I would tell you about 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, you probably could pull one off in a shorter time span, but everybody that's involved, that divide and conquer idea, would really need to be, get on top of it quick and fast. If you're going to do it within 2 weeks, you've got a short period of time to, get a lot of emails out, flyers up, talk to a lot of people, coordinate your event, your location. Many times you can do it in your same club meeting date and time. Depending on your location and logistics, you may need to pick, say the library or something different. Every club is going to have a kind of a different, situation. In our club, we have a big enough venue where we can host, probably 30 or more people if we need to. Some places probably couldn't pull that off depending on their location and such.
Right.
So ideally,
and here's
a minimum of 4 weeks, but that's just my personal opinion. Not that it can't be done.
Okay, 4 weeks. Thank you. And then here's like the follow-up question.
Sure.
So would you suggest that we would have the open house during our regular meeting time, or at an alternative meeting time, if that's like an easier one to pull people in for an open house?
I personally like using your regular meeting date and time, because that way people that are going to come, they know that's the date and time they'll be coming regularly. So they pretty much know, okay, well, if I'm available now, I should be available, the other nights, depending on schedule and stuff, of course. But I like that. Now, again, if you really want to pump it up and do it on a Saturday morning or at lunch or whatever, and then, guide them back to what your normal schedules are, then that's another option as well. So again, it's going to be kind of a club by club basis. I like using your current meeting time as best as possible, for sure. Even if you have a different location, I like using the same time.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
This is Jamie Michelson, also with Big Easy Toasters, and you'd mentioned quarterly open houses, but we only meet twice a month. So that would take up a big proportion of our meetings if we used at our regular meeting time. I was just wondering what other clubs have done if they were biweekly.
Well, actually, all the ones in Beaumont, we did actually think we caught them at the end, so we only were able to do one in that club year, and they all have one more scheduled for the first of this year. Again, and the reason I say quarterly, it's really going to depend on your club. Like our Evangeline Club, we've grown it now to where we're easily 25 plus members, and we have about 18 or so showing up every meeting, give or take. So I don't believe we need to do one every quarter. But if you're a club that's sitting there, who was at Toastanola, I know you guys are struggling a little bit with the 8 to 10 members. If you really want to get some momentum built to grow that membership, I think once a quarter, or at least let's say every 4 months, so 3 times in a year, to get you some momentum going, Because if every 3 months you've got like 4 or 5 new members coming in addition to what may come in between, you're easily going to hit those two goals of 4 and 4, and I believe you will very easily hit your +5 or your 20 minimum. So that's kind of the point behind the frequency of it. Again, I agree with you. That would be a little bit challenging since you only meet every other week. If you did it once a quarter, that'd be probably every sixth meeting you'd be having an open house, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, about 6th to 8th meeting you'd have an open house. So again, you guys kind of sit down and take a look at it. If you want to do less, that's fine. But the one big thing is I'd commit to putting some dates on the calendar and committing to set up, this person's going to do the first one, this person's going to do the second, this one the third, from an event chair and a PR chair standpoint, to where you can begin to plan things out. And what you learn on the first one, maybe you make some mistakes or maybe things you think you can do better, use those for the second one and then for the third one as well. What you think, Joel? You want to give some thoughts on that one? Joel? Did you leave me, Joel? He might have jumped out on us or dropped off the call. I don't know if I see him anywhere.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You got any thoughts on that question?
Okay.
What was the question?
What was the question?
Big Easy Toastmasters. They meet every other week. So they were saying open house every quarter was going to be putting, that's about every 6 to 8 meetings they're going to have an open house. So in my point,
okay, I had sent a message because I didn't want to interrupt you, but plan a separate event.
There you go.
Plan a separate event that way it won't take out of your normal meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe one that particular month would be a third meeting, and you have it maybe the same day of the week and time, just have it on an extra week possible. That's a good idea, Joelle.
Okay, thanks for the ideas.
Good. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay.
I mean, with the closed clubs, how these open houses will be effective? Because if it is open club, I understand you can go to a library or some public events. But with closed clubs, it would be difficult, right?
No, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question. Can you repeat that for me, bud?
I mean, as our club is closed club,
Mm-hmm.
all these open house activities will be limited to our company only. I understand if it is an open club, I can do it in a library and other stuff, invite guests and other stuff.
Right.
This is all like internal to the company. Any suggestions on that?
Correct. Well, and I agree with you there. Again, every club environment is going to be a little different, especially with a closed club. But let me give you this idea and just this thought to think about. And again, with the closed club, and I guess you're talking about Toast of Nola? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So when do y'all meet? Y'all meet at lunch or y'all meet after work?
Lunch.
Lunch. Okay. Gotcha. I can see where it could definitely be a little troublesome there. I mean, a bit of a challenge. But here's the thought I'd like for you to think about is the few corporate clubs I've worked with, the one thing that I've kind of noticed as a trend over time is you have people that will come and visit and not join just because the timing's not quite right. Maybe there's a big project going on at work they're working on, taking a lot of time. Then there's, all kind of different other situations. Maybe it's family, maybe it's all kind of different things that may keep them from doing the things they need to be effective when they come to the meetings and such. So you can ebb and flow that, if you guys can, if you think 2 a year will work, or maybe that might be a situation where you may want to do a Saturday event, once, twice a year as well to kind of get some people, engaged and get them to know what's going on. And that's why I mentioned the fact is talking to some department heads, trying to get some buy-in with them. And again, when it comes to some of this stuff and talking to other people in the company, again, don't hesitate to reach out to the district leaders, whether it be area director, division director, Joel as the club growth director, Mohammed, Tina, any of those people, I'm sure, with a coordinated schedule would have no problem coming out and visiting with some of these folks to kind of show them the reason why. Because I firmly believe, especially in the corporate environments, a lot of companies are great about putting on leadership stuff and, just stuff about communication. But I really think Toastmasters has a lot to offer from the value standpoint of things outside of the organization that give people the opportunity to be involved with something that, is a little different than what they're used to in the 8 to 5, 9 to 5 situation. So just something to think about there from that standpoint, because you get some people that may come, but they won't join. But then, hey, you do it in another 3 or 4 months, then they'll say, okay, now's a good time, I'll join, or 6 months down the road, or what have you. So it just gives you a little bit more of another option there to kind of dig into.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, one more thing I'm going to go over, and again, each of you that got on the call, or at least one person from each club, however you want to work that out, shoot me an email, and I put mine at the beginning of the slideshow, but I'll give it to you again. And actually, I have two, but the one you can probably use the easiest would be richardww@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email with your contact info, and I'll send you back a request to the Google Drive that has all these documents here. It's going to have this PowerPoint, so you can walk through this, and actually, if you want to show, get your 4 or 5 folks together that's going to help you, and you can walk through the PowerPoint and kind of jot some notes. The other 2 big sheets in there are going to be the open house agenda, and I'm going to walk through it kind of quickly with you. And then the third piece is going to be the open house notes, which kind of walks through some of the stuff we've talked about, but there's a few other points in there too, like the inviting script, the follow-up script, and stuff like that. But on the agenda itself, again, pretty much a normal club meeting with a couple, like probably what I call 3 differences. One, you'll probably only have 2 speakers, especially if you're in a lunch meeting. One speaker is going to be that leader that you get to come in and give that leadership communication talk. The other one will be a regular club member, or it could be somebody at any level, advanced communicator manual or just a regular CC manual speech. And you're only going to evaluate the person speaking from your club, okay? And then one evaluator to evaluate that club member, and everything else is pretty much normal: general evaluator, odd counter, grammarian, etc. And I would even tell you, in some cases, depending on the group, you may want to get a guest to possibly be the odd counter. And maybe if you got some sharp folks, I know we did an open house demo meeting at UL here in Lafayette, and I had one of the professors be the grammarian for us. So sometimes you can ebb and flow it like that if you like. And then the last 2 pieces at the very end of the meeting is you're going to plan out at least 2 people to do member testimonials on what Toastmasters has done for them. And I say plan out specifically because you want them to talk about maybe 1, maybe 2 things they've gotten out of Toastmasters, and keep it to 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want it to be someone who's going to get up there and we've told them to give 2 or 3 and they end up taking 5 to 7. That's not what you want. You really want to make sure you pick those people well. And then the last piece is actually walking through the membership application, where I actually stand at the front of the room and I walk through it. Well, at the top, hey, your name, your address, your contact info, so we can be in touch with you. Go ahead and fill that in. And then you talk about dues. Today, your total cost will be, let's just say it's $65 to join today. And you can break it up if you need to: $20 for the new member kit, $45 for your dues. And then on the last page is where we'll do the payment information. We take cash, check, or credit. So y'all go ahead and get that ready. And then you answer any questions. And typically that person is the closer, I call them. Could be that leader, could be anyone who's confident with walking through those steps in front of a room of people. Whoever that is great. And then I actually have on the agenda a verbatim statement that if there's no more questions, you've handled everything, pretty much the last statement before the president closes the meeting. So if there's no more questions, then I have one for you. Will you complete an application and leave it with us today? Hand it back over to the president, let them close out the meeting. And then have people in the room that are going to go touch those guests and see what they're at and what's going on. On the open house notes page, I'll walk through some points about, what maybe a guest pack could have or should have if you don't already have one set up for your club, a lot of little things. I would also encourage every one of your current members to have the goal of bringing at least 1 guest with them as well, because that right there alone will double if you got 10 members, now you're going to have 20 that show up, plus anybody extra that you invite. And then again, I have the invite scripts and the follow-up scripts there as well. And my contact information with my other email is there also. And there's one more document in that drive that I'll leave with you. And someone mentioned earlier, maybe it was Jamie possibly, or Cammie maybe, that mentioned you'll have members people that'll come into the meeting or to the club but they don't end up staying. Excuse me. Now, there's probably we could make a long list of different reasons why people don't hang around with Toastmasters. But one commonality that I think we could always work on to be better at is mentoring the members when they come in. And me and Joel, for our Evangeline Club actually that would have been 2 years ago now, we created a video kind of tutorial program. And one of the pages in that Google Drive has got the links to those. There's like 3 of them that we put together. One's about a new member. One's titled, I'm a Toastmaster, Now What? Walks through the CC manual, the CL manual, walks through the roles in the club, even talks about how to write a speech. Some good resource information, because I believe one key part of Toastmasters, with a new person walks in the door, they came here for a reason. So you need to know what that reason is. And again, predominantly that mentor program kind of falls on the VPE, but they're still able to ask for help, get people to help them with certain tasks along those lines. But you find out, what is that why? So if I came into Toastmasters because I just want to be a more confident speaker in front of my colleagues and my peers at work when I have to give a presentation, okay, so you're probably the person that what you probably need to do in Toastmasters is go through the CC manual, give you a basic foundation on speaking, talk about some techniques and some different challenges that you may have there that you don't even realize that you have. And then the next step may be speaking to inform. That's an advanced manual of 5 more speeches. And then maybe possibly persuasive speaking, or maybe the entertaining speaker, something like that. So that gives them a roadmap of 20 speeches now to work through to get them to the goal of what they're trying to achieve. So now that person has put them on a path, they can tap into these videos, because simply it's I don't know if you're familiar with teachable.com, used to be Use Fedora, but it's just basically a link to that website. They can go through those videos and kind of get themselves kind of a self-starting program. And then a mentor inside the club can meet with them and go over more specifics, help guide them and lead them. And I think if the new member's always kind of reminded why they're here and that they're on a journey, and you remind them that, hey, if you want to learn and get better at what you're doing, you need to get up there and speak, because that's the easier. It's kind of like Joel says it best, and I always use his term. If you're afraid of snakes, it's easy. You stay out of the woods. Don't go where the snakes are. But when it comes to speaking and getting more confident in what you're doing, you got to get up there and speak. It's like working out. If you don't start lifting weights, you're never going to see any results in your muscle mass or in the body and the way you feel if you don't go and do it. So, and it's part of speaking. So it's just reminding them what it is. You never force anybody. Don't twist any arms or break any necks. But you simply remind them that if you want to get to this goal, here's what you have to do. You should be speaking at least every 2 to 3 meetings. The more frequently, the quicker you're going to get there. So that's kind of to speak to that mentor part that you guys talked about earlier, I believe. And that's just kind of a bonus in one of those documents I got in there. All right. So any last questions? Anything else I can wrap up for you? I hope that was helpful for you.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
How often do you hold these open houses?
Well, most of the clubs that are struggling, like I went over in the PowerPoint, I would suggest you do 1 a quarter. Again, if that's a bit of a struggle at first, then I would say at least 2 a year, and make those 2 coordinate with your dues renewal cycle. Okay? Because that way you have some momentum going into that renewal period. Obviously, if you've got a full slate of leaders, that's probably at least 7, renewals, maybe 8, depending on if you have secretary and treasurer being separate. So if you've got more members that come in at that open house and they join right there, then that gives you even more that you put on the books moving forward. So again, every club's going to be a little different, but I really like the idea of 4 because it creates momentum. The first one, you may not have a huge turnout. The second one's going to be a little bit better than the first. And that third one's going to build even more momentum, because ideally, if you're creating a log of people that you're inviting, however you're doing it, Meetup, Facebook, email, face-to-face, whatever, you're going to have people that didn't come the first meeting. Well, I'm going to re-invite them for the second. People that didn't come the second or the first, I'm going to re-invite them for the third. So it's kind of a momentum builder, in my opinion. And again, in my experience, and I don't think this is anything about me and my speaking ability, I think it's a lot more to do with the clubs and their energy and excitement of bringing in new people We closed at least 40% in every meeting we went to. One was about 55% of the new guys that walked in the door. I think they had 11 members, and we got 6 that joined, or 11 guests, and 6 of them joined.
When you say you closed, you mean they paid and they fully joined right there at that meeting?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, there was. Well, and I'm gonna let me say that probably 40% joined right there. But we had that one club I mentioned that got 6. 2 of those, 4 joined at the meeting. 2 more joined at the next meeting when they showed up because they came, but they just didn't have their checkbook or cash or whatever on them to pay. And you have some of those, but I firmly believe, guys, to come back to this too. Every single meeting that you have a guest, I don't care if it's only one, you have to ask them if they'd like to join. And the one thing, and I'll kind of reiterate this real quick for you, and I like to use, it's a sales skill that I learned years ago, is using the application to show them how it works. At the end of the meeting, you sit down with them or you're visiting with them, you say, hey, look, why'd you come see us again? And they give you a good reason that ties into what we do in Toastmasters. Well, you know what? I can see how we can help you. What it would be is, you get up there and speak some, you serve in some leader roles in the club, fill some of these roles in the meeting, and I can see you getting down that path. So let me show you how this works. Your name and address goes up here. We want good contact info so Toastmasters can reach you and we can contact you as well. The total cost to join for a 6-month membership is going to be $65. That's $20 for your new member kit, gets you 4 manuals, access to the website, a lot of PDFs, and then $45 is your club membership dues. $65 a day gets you started. How do you want to do that? Cash, check, or credit? And you pretty much just be quiet and let them respond in some way or form or fashion. They're either going to say, okay, well, cash, is that okay? And they pull out money or a check or credit card, use that back for them. Or they're going to ask a question and say something like, well, I didn't bring any of that with me. Hey, no problem at all. Look, here's the application. Is it something you're really interested in? Well, yeah, I really see the value. Okay, great. Look, we're going to be meeting next Tuesday at 6:30. Fill this out, bring it back with you with your payment information. We'll get you all processed next week. You got a probably 50-50 chance they'll come back. And if they really saw the value, then they're going to be there. But that should be done every single meeting, and specifically on the open house agenda, because we kind of shortened the speaking slots and the evaluation slots so you make room at the end to actually ask for the money and the application. And again, a good solid meeting sells a guest on why they should join if they came there for the right reasons. And it also resells the members on why am I still involved with this? Because it's a good organization, I'm always learning something, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Say one more. So,
Sure.
and so you said that it's best to get a good, strong speaker from, I guess, from the other Toastmasters in the area, Toastmaster groups in the area or so on.
Right. And again, I don't know all the clubs out there. If you've got a good, strong speaker in there that can put together a good speech, then that's great. Actually, and I have the one I've given, I have the outline and pretty much the guts of it that I can send to anybody if they want to try and present it. But again, in the New Orleans area, Chick Miller comes to mind. He was a past district champion of public speaking champion last year. Joel did it this year. But I would ask around, ask your area director, ask your division director, go up that line and ask these people. And if somebody tells you, well, I don't know any, well, go to somebody else. Tina, ask Mohammed. If they don't know anybody, then see if they can give them a date and see if they can come help you do it. And again, and here's the other piece of it, I think. Someone from outside the club, I think, lends a little bit different credibility. Not that you may not have some great speakers in your club, and if you do, use them. No problem with that at all. But sometimes, as they said, nobody heard Jesus in his hometown. Sometimes when you bring somebody from the outside in, it kind of perks up some ears. Maybe it's a little different perception, a little bit different style, and people hear it and work with it a little bit better, maybe.
Okay. Cool.
Absolutely. Again,
And,
I can't hesitate to say it enough. Reach out to your district leaders, area directors, division directors, and up. We're here to help you.
okay, cool.
Okay, if that's it, I don't have anything else. But I appreciate y'all taking the time. I can definitely, I seriously mean that when I say that if you guys got on this call tonight, I can tell you have some commitment to what's going on in your club. And I think you'll definitely be some key members there. Find a couple other people that you can help develop and set you a plan in action and go after it. You know, pick some dates and make it happen. And again, reach out for help. But don't forget to send me your email addresses. Like I said, if it's just one per club, that's fine, or all of you, doesn't matter. And I'll get you access to that Google Drive account to download all this information you have, so you got some of that. And again, reach out to me if you want any questions you may have. Again, we're here to help you. No problem at all. We can set up another conference call right before your open house and, kind of help you with some things if you need that. We want you to be successful.
Can you put your email address in the chat window so we can see it?
Oh,
Is that
yeah,
cool?
sorry, I sure can. Thanks. Right here. Actually, I'll tell you, it'll actually, let me do this. Because I actually have it in a different drive. It's in the wolfspeaks@gmail.com. So send it to that one. Either one of them I'll get and I'll send it to you. And I'll even give you my phone number, which is on one of the documents too. Oh, yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Hey, no problem at all. Glad I could help. And like I say, y'all don't hesitate to reach out. And we may continue to do these calls throughout the year just to kind of reiterate the point. And actually, I want the other piece of it too. I want to hear stories. Hey, we did this and I don't know if it went too well, or if we did this, I think it went great. Somebody else can use those ideas. We want to share those wisdom pieces, and we want to share the challenges so we can try and refine this whole process as we go. But I think it's an excellent tool. You guys can definitely use it to help grow yourselves for sure. Alrighty. Well, y'all have a good night if there's nothing else.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Hey, no problem. Glad I could help.